Going on, guys? It is me. It's me, the K, the N, the G, the host of Hustle and Harmonies. Yes, I am back at it again. Um, Without a shadow of a doubt, I am so happy to be here. I am very, very, very glad to be doing this again. First episode was a little bit rough, I know, as far as the editing and the way you guys viewed the episode. So, my apologies, but give me time. I'm getting back into it. It's gonna be a rough patch, but I'm still getting through a little bit of hiccups as far as the behind the scenes aspect of it. But yes, I do my own editing. I do all the stuff, but I have fun with it, and obviously this is just for fun and for bullshit. But with that being said, hopefully this video is a lot better than the first one, both in content and in production. And with that being said, we are going to jump right into it. Yep. Now, I know this topic has simmered down quite a little bit. It's been about, I think, 5 days now since the announcement, but I think the NBA world has been in a frenzy ever since. And yes, I am talking about LeBron James deciding to take his talents to Philadelphia and the city of brotherly love, joining the Sixers on a 2-year, $8 million money friendly deal for the Sixers. I did not expect that to be the deal, nor did I expect that to be the destination for LeBron, but it is what it is. He has his reasons, and I know he made them very, very clear in his Instagram post. But for me, you know, it's a tough, it's a tough, it's a tough debate whether or not you want him on your team when he was, you know, keeping it under wraps as to where he was going to go. Me personally, born here in Miami, I am a Miami Heat fan, but I also have ties to Boston, so I am a Celtics fan as well. A little bit weird, but if you know me, and that's just the way I work. But yes, for the most part, I am a Miami Heat fan above my Celtics. So do I want LeBron on the Heat? I would have, I would have, but do we need the LeBron James, all that drama on our team? I don't think so. To be honest with you, that is something that I'm not gonna say we dodged a bullet because it's never a bullet when you pass the greatest player playing right now. I'll admit it. Where he is with the MJ debate is a whole different thing. I'm talking in terms of players playing right now to do what he's doing at the age that he's doing it at about 41 years old. The guy's the guy's amazing. I mean, it's there's no doubt. I mean, you can't expect anything more. The dude, his stats are just insane. It's just the way that I'm pulling him up right now to play 60 out of the 82 games in a season last year at the age that he is, and averaging 21, 7, and 6 points, rebounds, and assists. And I'm sorry, points, assists, and rebounds in that order. And to shoot 52%, that's a testament to the way that he takes care of himself and the way he treats his body, and he means it when he says that he's playing to win. And that is certainly what you see on the court, no matter who he's with. And to see, it would have been nice to have seen him, Bam, and Giannis on the same team on the court, especially here in South Beach. Especially after we already had a big three with him, Wade, and Bosch. So to see another version of that would have been pretty interesting. But it is what it is, and he chose Philadelphia for the reasons he chose Philly. And for me personally, does that starting five scare me? Um, on paper, it should, but in reality, I think it's the reality is these are injured stars already towards the later ends of their careers. I'm talking Braun, I'm talking Embiid. Embiid more for the injuries and the age, but you also have Jalen Brown who just came into the mix and um, had that workload put in front of him last season, taking the Celtics team being, you know, basically the man in Boston, seeing Jason Tatum go down and not returning until the very end of the season, and then into the playoffs, obviously. But things like that you have to keep in mind when wondering what's going to happen this season. So it's more of a question mark than it is a certainty. I think in Philadelphia, it's what's going to happen and how many games together are they going to play. Are we going to see a full season of Maxey, Jaylen Brown, Embiid, and Braun on the court? Are we going to see 82 games of that? Obviously, the answer is going to be no. I feel, because load management for I think all three of those stars except Maxey was the exception. Maxey, the young kid, doing big things in Philly, leading the Sixers in scoring. So the future is bright with him. So I think has to take on more of the workload there. He's going to be very heavily relied upon, despite the big names being put with him. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But my opinion is the Sixers, yes, this makes them the playoff team they already were. But to say that they're going to win a championship in their first year, that's a far stretch. I think it's a very, very far stretch. You have to take into consideration LeBron's age, LeBron's health. How much can he lead this team? It's a lot of doubt, but I know LeBron has proven himself time and time again. That's not for me to say, that's for all his stats to show. And this is, LeBron is amazing, and I know LeBron is going to find a way to win. I know he made it clear that what he wants to do right now is to win a championship at the end. And he made it clear that this is where it's going to end for him here in Philly. So we got to see how bad he really, really wants to win and how much of a workload he's willing to take on while he's there, because I'm pretty sure it's going to be a lot. That's no disrespect to Jaylen Brown. I am a big Jaylen Brown fan. It's no disrespect to Embiid, but these guys are also injured, and a lot of these people do not play back-to-back games. We've seen it. Embiid, for the last 2 years, has not played back-to-back games. So, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. But rest assured, that's for a couple months to tell when the NBA season kicks off. And I am going to dive in on this subject because I'm going to jump into, my team a little bit. And yeah, we missed out on LeBron James, but we have to keep in mind some of these free agents and where they fall here. So we'll take a look at that now. NBA free agency is still not over, guys. Despite the LeBron signing, there are still some free agents still waiting to be signed to teams, and a couple of them might shock you, but we're still waiting for the obvious decisions of, one, James Harden. We know Jalen Duren's at the top of that free agent list, the young big man out of Detroit. But we have guys like James Harden, who last year averaged 23 points, 4 rebounds, and 8 assists, while shooting 43% and going 37% from beyond the three. So kind of interesting to see where he's going to fall now that LeBron decided where he's going to go. Does Cleveland go back, re-sign him, and does he work it out? Does he go elsewhere? Does he sign for a minimum like LeBron did, or does he try to get one last big contract before calling it a career? This isn't the guy who's getting any younger, nor is he getting any better. We're seeing time kind of put a little bit of wear on him, but he's still a shooter. He's still one of the better shooters in the league right now. I'll give it to him. If not all time, you have to put him in that conversation. We're not going to put him in that whole Dwayne Wade debate. No, you guys. I just said that I'm a big Miami fan, so part of the reason why I'm a Miami fan is because of that man, so I'll digress from that. But you do have interesting guys like Benedict Mathurin, who had to step up and be the man in Indiana for a little while, since Tyrese Halliburton was out all year with the gruesome torn ACL, having to rehab it all last season, wasn't able to play, couldn't get to the court the way Jason Tatum did. Obviously, the injury came later, so we know why. But yes, Mathurin had to step into that prominent offensive role. Later got shipped out to the Clippers, now a restricted free agent. So see if the Clippers sign their man or if he falls into the arms of somebody else. But Matherin did quite well. From a fantasy perspective, I did draft him, so for me, he did quite all right. Little hiccups there with some injuries, but did average 17, 5, and 4, while going 43% shooting. So he had his bumps, but he had a better start than he did an end, I would say. So interesting to see where he's gonna land. You have guys like Peyton Watson out in Denver, small forward who can be good on both sides of the ball. So he could be somebody's, you know, defensive guy, or you can have him there as a sixth man coming off the bench and being a playmaker, averaging 14, 4, and 2, while going 41 from beyond 3. So we'll see. We'll see where he falls there. You have big guys like Jonathan Kuminga, played there in Atlanta last year, but has ties to Golden State. See where he ends up now that LeBron signed in Philly. Does Golden State swing and go back to their big man? Or do they take another route? Do they go with a guy like Harden, another shooter for Curry to pair with? And once Jimmy comes back from injury, maybe form that little bit of a trio. Another guy there, Draymond Green, still has no home yet. So interesting to see where he goes too. But for me, ultimately, as a Heat fan, we're gonna get into the more realer players that I've seen that we're interested in, players that have been in the mix. From what I've heard, one guy being DeMar DeRozan, who I would not mind being on the Miami Heat. Yeah, DeRozan's getting ready to call it a career, but maybe one last gasp here in Miami with Bam and Giannis to be another perimeter shooter. When Giannis tries to go into the paint. So it'd be cool to see it, averaging 18, 2, and 4, giving 1 steal a game, but also shooting 32% from 3. That's not so bad. So I would say he's an option there for the Miami Heat. I think he's a guy that Pat Riley may look at. Eric Spoelstra might be able to utilize, even if it's coming off the bench. We know Davion Mitchell's going to be given that point guard spot. Shooting guard remains up for grabs. It depends whether or not we're going to use Tim Hardaway Jr., our new signee, as a starter, or whether that's going to be our bench guy. You do have guys like Klay Thompson, a shooter from Dallas, who could also be in the mix for Miami. We do know that he does have one last year in his contract in Dallas. So it's whether or not he decides to be bought out or Dallas decides to buy him out and he chooses to sign somewhere. And can that somewhere be the 305? Like I said, what we need is shooting, what we need is playmaking. For me, I look at guys like Russell Westbrook. I actually had this conversation the other day. And guys like Russell Westbrook are absolutely who I think Miami should sign, despite what people may think. I know the shooting is not there, but that is not to be used for shooting. I'm talking from a playmaking perspective. I think Russ can fill that sort of void that the Heat have there, while also being a big rebounder. He's a triple-double waiting to happen. Even this late in his career, he can still do it. So interesting to see there whether or not Jesus Christ, wrong sport. Russell Westbrook gets the call to Miami. But you do also have guys like Bradley Beal, who didn't really play much of last year with the Clippers. A lot of injuries. So do I want to see them there in Miami? I probably would say no, but when he's healthy, he's on. So, this guy can be the man who can shoot when he needs to. He's not going to be heavily relied upon, I think, in Miami, should we choose that route. But it's pretty rough. But like I said, you got guys like Russell Westbrook. Even Russell Westbrook at his age, 37, was averaging 15, 4, and 6, while averaging 1.3 steals a game, but shooting 43% from field goal and 34% from 3. So he's useful. He's pretty useful. I think he's somebody Miami can look at. I think Miami is ultimately going to swing for an older guy. We don't really need young talent looking for gigantic contracts. We have enough with what we got there. We do need to pay Giannis beyond this deal that we gave him. So definitely want to see how much that's going to end up being worth. We still got to pay Bam. Um, Bam, I know, is in his contract, but you still got to keep paying this guy. You have other role players there who are going to ultimately end up asking for more. Pal Larson coming into his own last season. So interesting to see another guy in free agency who might be a name that the Heat look at. Could be Kelly Olynyk. A big man role coming off the bench, maybe, while also providing a little bit of shooting. He did average 25% shooting from three last season, so yeah, but maybe we look elsewhere. But yes, Kelly Olynyk out of San Antonio. Gary Payton the third, if he's somebody we're looking for defense. I'm sorry, Gary Payton the second. But yeah, could GP be somebody that we look to? I don't necessarily think so. Cam Thomas, who was a big question mark in Brooklyn, ultimately ended up getting traded to Milwaukee. But he went from being a big, gigantic star out in Brooklyn to basically being a non-factor. And then they decided enough is enough, got traded, and even in Milwaukee still was a non-factor. It'll be interesting to see what he does in his new home and what they choose to use him for in that next role. But it was pretty weird to see the season that Cam Thomas had, now that I think about it. But could Gabe Vincent be a guy that Miami looks to return? With the Lakers, he went out, averaged four. These stats are pretty rough, but he's still a perimeter shooter. I think that's what Pat Riley and the Heat are looking at. I think the big men search is gone, so I think they do swing along the lines of a point guard, a shooting guard, or even a big shooting middleman. Guys like DeRozan, guys like Klay Thompson. But yeah, still interesting to see where the big names do end up. The guys like Jalen Duren, like Peyton Watson, James Harden. It'll be interesting to see. But for me, for the Miami Heat, I think you swing Russell Westbrook, you swing Klay, or you swing DeRozan. Those for me would be the big three to round out this Heat free agency in what has been a very promising free agency. I look forward to actually watching Heat basketball this season. See what we can do. Maybe we get out of the play-in tournament for the first time in, I believe, 4 consecutive years we've been there. And it'll be interesting to see whether or not we can secure a first-round home court advantage. So that's for time to tell. I know the season starts in just a couple of months, but until then, we are going to swing to another topic, and we're going to switch sports now. For those that watch baseball, we know that the baseball season's almost over, at least the regular season. We have passed the halfway mark. We've passed the All-Star game, so now we're down to the home stretch. We are getting into September call-ups. We're getting there, guys. It's gonna go by in the blink of an eye, and we've seen a lot of weird things happen. No Tail is weirder than the collapse of the New York Mets, I think. Seeing the off season that they had coming into this season, what they spent, who they got, who's on that roster when you look at it, and then seeing where they're at right now in terms of standings and basically statistical categories, almost all of them. It's strange to see that they are so down in the standings. I think they are the last place team in the NL East, if I'm not mistaken. But weird, considering they got Soto, Bichette, all these big names, and it seems that they have not been able to do anything. Some of them have not been able to stay healthy, so I know that's a factor. Pitching has been a mess, but what is happening there in New York? But It's crazy. It's crazy. But yes, we are at the halfway mark, past the halfway mark. And with that being said, this is a look at some of the standings here. We're going to get into them. We're going to go into the National League first. Um, in the NL East, I think it's no surprise the Braves are holding out there. They have just been rock solid. Um, they hold the top seed there in the NL East. Over in the NL Central, you have the usual battle between the same, three or four teams. I think the Cardinals this year got the bad end of it. They are the fourth place in the NL Central, and they are down by one game just to get into third, but still quite a ways to get to first. Yeah, so a little rough over there, but Milwaukee holds top spot in the NL Central, and by a big margin too. Same with the Braves; they hold a almost 7 game margin, or 7 games ahead of Philly for the first seed. So they are very well sat in their spots. I don't think they'll get knocked from it at the end of the season. I think they will hold on to that all the way to October, in my opinion, for those two. And then going into the NL West, you have the obvious Dodgers just tearing teams apart, doing what they do. That's a team who has the roster, has the names, and is absolutely doing what they should be. Guys like Shohei, Mookie, everybody's just getting it, and on any day, any of these players can just take you deep. And pitching is absolutely crazy right now. It's insane. The Dodgers just remain consistent. They are 11 games ahead of Arizona in that first place seed, so don't expect them to move anytime soon. I think they remain rock solid as long as Shohei Ohtani is breathing and pitching and hitting and doing everything for the LA Dodgers. But that is a look at the NL, and we will actually dive into the wild card while we're at it, just to round it out. But the wild card spots being held now by the Cubs, Diamondbacks, and Phillies. Cubs at the top, they hold a 5 game lead over Arizona, who has the number 2 spot in the wild card. I feel like this is going to be something that's just going to keep rotating, since there are not too many games ahead of all these teams that are fighting there. So you still have Washington, you have San Diego, and you have my beloved Miami Marlins, who are fighting to get into that spot. All these teams less than 3 games back from that last spot being held by Philly. But like I said, these are tough teams. Philly has been very, very tough considering where they started. I think once they got rid of their coach and brought in some new ownership and did what they had to do, they just went on a tear. And it has been a resurgence. I think the All-Star game now is also bringing a lot of fight in them. So Bryce Harper is the leading catalyst there. Their pitching is doing great when it has to. Zach Wheeler is dealing. But yeah, this is definitely a team to look at. These are wild cards that I think can be scary in October, but I do think that is going to change. If you ask me, I'm going to give you my way too early predictions. Of course, I'm going to revisit this come September, and I'll tell you how I really feel. But for me, looking at this right now, I see the 3 National League wildcard spots being... I will give it to the Cubbies, I will give it to the Padres, and I will go on and say the Marlins are going to catch fire late in the season. I think if Sandy and the pitching staff keep it together and stay consistent for a couple more weeks, and the hitting just continues to give everybody headaches, and it seems like no lead is big enough to hold down the Marlins. I've seen them come back from some crazy deficits, and it's been some Marlin magic, even beating teams that they shouldn't have been. I know they just came back from losing 12 straight, but before that they had an amazing month. I believe it was June that they went on a tear. But definitely, man, I'm not just saying that because I'm from here, but I think the Marlins are something special, something to watch this year. Guys like Joe Mack, guys like Otto Lopez. We got to see how the Marlins feel about themselves come the trade deadline. I know that's August 3rd. We have next week. But for me, I think if the Marlins want to play contender, I say they hold on to what they got right now and see what's gonna happen. Maybe try to swing for some guys yourselves instead of trading away. But if the Marlins decide to play seller, I can see the likes of Otto Lopez being gone. I don't think they're gonna let go of Sandy. I hope not. I think Sandy is imprinted here in Miami. I think we love him. I think we should keep him. We should base this team around him. He should be our leader. He's done great. El Caballo, shout out to Sandy. Keep doing what you're doing, but I don't think that should be a piece that got to be moved. But yeah, that's going to round out the National League from me. And we are going to talk now about the American League. Over in the American League, it's a little bit more of the same. As I mentioned with the National League, it's teams at the top that you figured would be there at this point. And then teams you figured would be at the bottom are there at that point. Shout out to the Kansas City Royals, the lovable losers. Sorry it had to be you guys. Also, the Los Angeles Angels have been struggling a little bit. With a guy like Mike Trout on your team, you gotta wonder why. I know injuries have been a factor in his career, but when he's playing, he is all-star caliber. And to hold him prisoner like that on a team that's been so mediocre for so long, you gotta think maybe his time in LA is up. I would like to see him on a championship team, not the Dodgers, hopefully, but somewhere else or on a team that wants to compete for a championship. Mike Trout, do what you got to do, man. I want to see him play for a championship team 100%. But to see him down there in the NL West, while we're at it, we'll just keep going with the standings there. We see the Texas Rangers at the top of that division. They have been there for a couple of years now. They've been pretty consistent. Whether it's at the top or playing for a wild card spot, the Texas Rangers have been a name in October for a little while, so I think they're making themselves at home. And me, if you ask me my opinion, I think they will walk away in that division with the title in the AL West. I'm sorry, but all teams looking pretty rough as a whole. You see, they are at the top, but at 55 and 52, only 3 games above 500. You gotta think, what is wrong? And then right behind them, the Houston Astros, only 2 games and below 500, but still competitors for a playoff spot. It's weird. I guess you would call them the best of the worst in that situation, but for the American League to have teams like this when we're not used to it. We're kind of used to seeing dominance on the American League side, teams well above 500 sitting there, sometimes 3 or more teams in that division all sitting above 500 comfortably, but not the case this year. It's been a lot rougher for the American League. I think the National League has had more success in terms of that record-wise, but competition-wise, is always there in the American League, a lot of stars. So also a lot of baseball to be played, so we'll see where that goes. But as for me, in my opinion, I think the Rangers walk away from the AL West with the title, and we will be seeing them in October. But can't count out guys like Houston and the Mariners, who trail them by less than 3 games. So we'll see what happens there. Over in the AL Central, you have Munetaka Murakami, the hot name in Chicago right now. You got to compare him to Shohei Ohtani automatically, but this guy has been lights out for the Chicago White Sox. He has been the offensive engine for them. He has gotten it going, ripping homers day and night whenever you need him. He is insane. I think he's an incredible talent. He is somebody to watch in the years to come. Like I said, you got to give him those Shohei comparisons, but Munetaka Murakami is a guy that come October, when you see the White Sox there, you got to figure they're going to be special. So I want to see if he can do some special things when the big lights are on. So see where that goes. But you also have Cleveland Guardians following them at a 1.5 games out. And you also have the 20s still there hanging at 2. And yes, I know the season that Detroit has had, considering the likes of Tariq Skubal. We're going to see where he ends up, if he stays, if he goes come trade deadline. But Detroit has had it rough. but they remain only 5 games out of that division. So you can't really count them out yet. I would probably put them in the conversation there too. But you gotta think the White Sox are the big team there, but at 55 and 51, only 4 games above 500. Just like the Rangers, probably would say the best of the worst. You got right behind them the Guardians at 1 game above 500, 55 and 54, and then the Twins sit at 500. So little mid baseball being played there for the American League, and we're already jumping into August. So you figured what is happening there with the bats? What's happening with, is it interconference play that's affecting all these teams? Is it, playing teams in the American League? You got to see what's been happening. But it's been pretty rough, I would say. And but if you were to ask me, I do think Chicago White Sox are a very, very strong team. They are going to hold on to that first place in the AL Central. I can see them walking away with it. I know they will get tested by teams like the Guardians and the Twins, and even the Tigers will probably try to play spoiler at some point. But I would say the Chicago White Sox are the heavy favorite. And sorry for the reason for I'm pushing this back is because I'm going to have to go get changed because I have a topic to talk about. And just bear with me for 1 second. 1 second. Much better. I think you guys have figured it out by now, but yes, we are going to jump into the AL East standings, and there I think has been no hotter topic than the team that I'm rocking right now, but when we got to get into it, we'll get into it. I think for the AL East, being held hostage to me, in my opinion, by the Tampa Bay Rays, they have been absolutely resilient. They are playing amazing baseball right now at 62 and 44. This is the kind of level of play you figure to see from the American League. Nonetheless, the AL East, I know the teams I mentioned before were sitting at a game or two above 500, but this is what I meant when I said AL play. This is exactly what I mean. So they are very, very strong. They are consistent. That from pitching to hitting, they just are a very well-rounded team. Granted, the ballpark can use some work. I know they are trying to work on that, but I think the Rays are playing excellent baseball right now. And I think we'll hold that all the way through October. Hopefully I'm here jinxing them. But I think the way they're playing right now, they're looking solid, and they will remain the AL East champs. But not to be outdone, the Yankees are only a game and a half out of that first spot. So there's always plenty of baseball to be played. So I think with that being said, it's anybody's game in that division. That is one of the best, in my opinion, the best divisions in baseball. So it's always interesting. It's a lot of star power there. So I think the level of play in the AL East is phenomenal. Despite how I feel about the Yankees, it's always fun to see my team play the Yankees and beat them when we do. So it should be fun. But we're going to be talking about the American League wild card and the reason why I'm wearing this. So we're going to jump into it right now. You see the Yankees have the top spot. Unfortunately, yes, they look pretty good there, sitting at 61 and 46. Right below them are the team I'm rocking right now, the Boston Red Sox, having an amazing back half of this year. Guys, this is a team I will admit I wrote them off. I did. I wrote them off stupidly before the All-Star break, thinking this team was hopeless. We were going on 6-game losing streaks, 4-game losing streaks. It was rough. It was rough to see it. I didn't think we'd be in the position that we're in right now. But thankfully, for a lot of, I wear a cross that says faith, and sometimes I feel like I should have more of it. And obviously they did. And here we are, a hot 15 win streak later, starting right before the All-Star break. They came from the All-Star break, figured it wasn't enough, kept on winning. Like I said, we went 15 before ultimately losing to Baltimore in the second game of a doubleheader. Call it what you want. Could it have been 16 if we played them another day? Most likely, but we've been pretty rock solid since. And during this 15-game streak, we weren't beating sub 500 teams. We were beating consistently good teams. One of the teams that we manhandled were the Rays. So keep that in mind when September and October, all that rolls around. We still have a 4-game stand with the Yankees and a 3-game stand with the Rays still to be played. And so a lot of baseball. It's going to be interesting. But yes, the Red Sox holding that second spot at 55 and 51. I didn't think we would be there. We have catapulted. That 15-game win streak has catapulted us from being, I'm telling you, look it up, guys. At the beginning of this season, I'm talking maybe beginning of June. Even probably going as far as towards the end of June. We were about maybe the 3rd worst team in baseball. Not just the American League, maybe in baseball, records-wise. But with the star power that we had, it was crazy to think that we were going to stay there. I should have had more faith and thought this team was going to do it. And sure enough, we are here. And they are playing amazing baseball with injured talent still to come back. We're talking guys like Garrett Crochet. You have, I believe, Roman Anthony is still out there. Still has to work his way back. But these are players that can mean something when they come back. But it's just how they figure into this rotation now. This is a team that, in their mindsets, I think they've flipped the switch and have gone from sellers to buyers. And I think they're going to look to make some moves now. Come trade deadline, maybe you look to guys like I mentioned, Otto Lopez from the Marlins, see what they do and what they want to offer and who they're willing to part ways with. For the Red Sox, I know a lot of teams have been calling on the players who have been vital role players since the injured stars have been out. You're talking guys like Monasterio, Caleb Durbin, who has been lights out defensively. He's been everything we need at the corner playing third. So interesting to see what we do. Anthony Siegler is another guy we've had there. So it's what the Red Sox decide to do, who they want to part ways with to get ultimately that ring that we want. And I hope the Red Sox want to play buyers and we don't sell away too many pieces. And the pieces we sell away, I want to be okay with losing. I know for me, Ceddanne Rafaela is near and dear to my heart, as well as Jarren Duran. I don't want to see those players leave. So if you're listening to me, Boston management, I need these players still on our roster after this deadline, and I need them paired with players that are going to put us in the position to win. Come October, I want to see us jumping into the wild card. How it ends for me, I do see. I'll be crazy. Call me crazy, but I want you guys to mark this day. I want you to mark this show, mark this moment, because I'm going to sit here and I'm going to tell you guys I see the Red Sox winning out the wild card, being that first team in the wild card. They will jump the Yankees. I think they are going to end up sweeping them when they play them in that 4-game stand. I would love to see it. It would make me happy, very, very happy to see them do it. But I do ultimately see them pulling it out and being the first seed in the wild card. Either way, as long as we finish and we're in October, it's going to be phenomenal. I think this is going to be a dangerous team no matter where they finish in the standings come October. If they're in the playoffs, I think they are going to be a team to watch. Despite who they played, but despite who they're matched up with, I think is a winnable matchup for them. So interesting. Like I said, this is a team that has beaten the Yankees. They have beaten teams above them. They've beaten the Yankees. They've beaten the White Sox. They've beaten the Rays. You know, they've been great. And I want to see if this goes all the way. We didn't think we'd get to a 15-game win streak. I didn't expect us to even get to a 3-game win streak. Here we are. And I didn't expect to see us in October. But like I said, here we are. And it's been a pleasure. So if you guys aren't watching baseball right now, you might want to tune in because there's some crazy stuff happening. And if you're a Boston fan, if you're a Boston diehard, put that jersey on with pride because what we're doing right now is special. I think more people should be talking about it. Despite who your team is, despite where you're from, despite what you think. This story with the Boston Red Sox has been one of the best stories in baseball, and it's been very interesting, and I'm so curious to see how it ends. Hopefully it's with a ring, and nothing would make me happier. But yes, shout out to my team. I know it sounds very, very biased coming from me wearing this jersey, but it's just because I'm so proud to see that jump that we just made. and it's been fun. And I really want to see what happens come August 3rd with that trade deadline and what this team wants to do and how seriously we want to win. That's gonna tell. I think I would never sit here and honestly, I didn't think I'd be sitting here and saying I'm glad Alex Cora is gone, but seeing what Chad Tracy is doing with his team, I think ownership is taking it seriously. They really want to win. This team really wants to win. They seem very in sync. They seem very together. It seems like a brotherhood. They care. This is a team that cares. If you tune in and watch them, you see the level that they play with and the joy that they have, and it's just like I said, much like the Marlins, this is a team that no lead is too safe. I think they can come back from almost anything. We've seen them come back from some pretty wild things during that win streak just to save it. So it'll be interesting. But that'll do it for me and for baseball. And we're going to round out this show now with some final thoughts. Well, it has been a blast talking to you guys yet again. I hope you enjoyed the show. We talked about Bron. We talked some NBA free agency. We talked about how things are looking at the MLB. A little bit of standings, how I feel the rest of the MLB season's going to shape up. Wink, wink. But that's going to do it for me for this show. Next week, I want to do something a little bit special. So I'm going to announce it here at the end of this show. August 4th is going to mark 5 years since my mother has passed, unfortunately. So I kind of want to do a celebration of Nancy. So my next show will be completely dedicated to her. It will be on August 4th, so that will be next Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. So definitely look out. What I want is to hear from you guys. And what I want is for you guys to tell me how you guys feel about Nancy. I want you guys to send me your messages. For those that knew her, for those that, just love me and want to share a message to her, feel free to do so. But this is ultimately for the fans of Nancy, not even for my friends, but for the people who knew her, who want to continue to celebrate her life, who just want to tell her something. Feel free. Send me a message and I will play it on my next episode. Trust me when I tell you Nancy's been with me. Nancy sees me. She's seeing everything that I'm doing. So if you shoot me a little video, she's definitely going to be watching it too. She'll definitely appreciate it. I know that. I will absolutely appreciate it. I'm more than thankful, more than grateful for those who take the time to watch these episodes, who have supported me, who will continue to support me, who don't support me yet but will. All of you guys, it's a blessing to be doing this. So I'm going to keep doing it till I can't anymore. But, it's in God's name. And hopefully, this is going to be a very special episode next week. So yeah, I definitely want to hear from you. Send me your videos, anything you want to tell Nancy, my mom, whatever you guys want to do. So it's going to be all about her. I don't know to what capacity yet, but I do know it's going to be a little dedication episode. I'm gonna talk about her, talk about the things that she liked, relating to sports and music. So it's going to be interesting. I'm still thinking about it, but ultimately that is what I want to do. So if you want to support the cause, I am absolutely 100% on your side. Send me a video. You know where to find me on Instagram here. If you have my phone, reach out, do whatever you gotta do. But that's gonna do it for me today. Stay tuned. A celebration of Nancy, August 4th. And until then, as always, guys, you know it. Peace. See you next episode.